is you can't go out and look at one. Can you stand there and hold it for me, sweetie?
No, just hold it.
I'm talking pretty loud. Oh. So,
Yeah. There, that's better.
the secret is to have a good model. Now, where would you get a good model? It was in about I'll tell you the very beginning was 1942, when my father took me into a adjoining room, sat me down and told me that whales are the biggest animals in the world. And I said, okay, well, what's a whale? He said, well, they're mammals, they breathe air. He went on about that. He said they're gentle giants. At the time, I think I was about 8 years old. And it stuck on me that these animals were so huge, but they were gentle. And they were beautiful animals. And after a few years went by, about 20, I decided to go back and capture all my ideas on what my father had told me about gentle giants and all that. So, I went to the library to get some photographs because I wanted to do some nice paintings and drawings of whales that were anatomically accurate. But when I went to the library, I got a big surprise. You don't look up whales, you look up whales and whaling, which means you're going to be looking at a whole lot of whale carcasses. And it took me a while to get used to that, but I read the literature, lots of it. And whaling captains would say like a fin whale could swim 20 knots, 25 knots. And that is really hauling if you've ever been in a boat, a sailboat maybe, going that fast, which I have. And I couldn't believe when I saw the work in the museums, all these giant mushroom-shaped whales, that they could go that fast. It didn't make any sense. So I made a big discovery. I realized by looking at these carcasses, which took me a long time, I smuggled a photograph into a library. I was on the faculty at Cal State Hayward, Cal State University, I guess, and they gave me stack privileges. So I had this old Nikon camera, a very beautiful camera. I had to get these photographs of these carcasses. Because you see a fin here, an eye here, part of the tail here. Very important to get all that together so you can put something together that equals a good a model. Well, I was in the library. This is a quick story. I was in the library and I take a photograph out of a book, clank, clank, and everybody looked up. And one day the librarian caught me, so I wondered what was going to happen. And she said, Mr. Foster, wouldn't you be better off by the window where there's better light? Whoa, I'm among friends. So I went through the literature. It took me out 3 or 4 years. Photographs aren't indexed, so it takes forever. The Norwegian Whaling Gazette is 10 feet on the shelves, and you got to go through it page by page. It took forever. But I had to see those carcasses, although I didn't want to at first, because I wanted to get clues on what the animals really look like. After about 5 years, I had enough information that I was able to do a model. I went to the Smithsonian and a bunch of other places. All the whales were pretty ridiculous to me. I know why, because they use creativity instead of research. To hire somebody to do what I did all those years just sitting in the library, that would take a lot of money. So they didn't do it. So I had to start all over from scratch, which I did. And I finally came up with a model. The model was 50 inches long, inch equals a foot, and I made several of those models. You made a mold of them. To do it, how do you do it from a model? The model is the hard part. After you got the model, anybody can build it. Anywhere on the world, you can have it built right here. But I noticed that when we cut the whale up and made the steel frame for it out of wire, 1/4-inch wire, that the whale took on shape and it looked so beautiful. I thought, this is great. We're going to be able to show the whole world what these animals look like, first time. And there was a good friend of mine, Christopher Dan. He's not here today. Oh, he is here, Christopher Dan. Without this man, there would be no fin whale. Because I told him all about it, and I showed him photographs of the model. He said it was a really good idea. And he was working for the World Wildlife Fund with a panda, little panda logo. And he was able to help me with a nice gift of some money to get started to build it. So without him, it wouldn't have happened. Say hi to Chris Dan, everybody. One of my best friends. So then it went around for a while, I think in Texas and Arizona, I'm not too sure where. And then it came back to the Bay Area, and we brought it up here, and it looked so good here, we decided to leave it here. So that's where it is now. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Streamlined like a torpedo, like a Corvette. Not a big football shape. Should I ask anybody if they have any questions or anything?
How did she get her name?
Oh, how did she get her name? The woman in front here. No, let me say something about Mary, because Mary notices there's no placard, no recognition of the whale. Not even what species it is, just a whale. And so she wrote a letter a year, a real nice, fun letter, pointing out it'd be nice to have some kind of a plaque or something to point out what kind of whale it is. So she did all this too. Her and Christopher are good friends. Anyway, people have asked me how'd the whale get its name. Well, the Latin name of fin whale is Balænoptera physalis, Physalis, physalis. If you're taking notes. And I thought Balænoptera was a sweet-sounding name. But that's not a good name for a pet whale, Balænoptera, too long. Beautiful though it may be. Physalis, that's not too good either. So we tried maybe shortening Physalis. How about Phyllis? It's a nice name, but not for a pet whale. How about Fifi? Fifi was a good name. We like Fifi. That wasn't too good for a pet whale though. Then we tried Foo-Foo, Foul-Foul. And so I took Pheena and sort of abbreviated it, and I made it into, Physalis, I made it into Pheena. So where'd the name Pheena come from? I made it up. What are they going to do, fire me? No way. So anyway, does anybody
How much does it weigh?
Questions?
How much does she weigh?
I think a couple of thousand, maybe 3,000 pounds. It's not too heavy. It's not too heavy. Wait, this really does work. Like the Beatles. Yeah. Well, when like she pointed out, the helicopter did fly it around. We had a couple of helicopters, and they lifted it right up, and away it went over the bay. It was in a National Geographic special.
What's it made of? What is it made of?
Fiberglass.
Can you tell that process? How do you put a fiberglass whale shape together?
Well, here's what we did. It's very laborious. We made the whole thing out of 1/4-inch mild steel rod. And then we covered that with fiberglass. It was a beautiful thing, but it was wire. Everyone got excited. They were photographing it. It was a wonderful thing. And then we covered it with fiberglass, because you couldn't go around with a wire whale. We covered it with fiberglass, and it was real thick fiberglass, many coats. It took us forever. And then we turned it over and took the wire out. So now there's no wire, it's just fiberglass and a few little wood braces. So I would never do another one.
Have you since then been out on the water to see the real whales?
No, total waste of time. Because you go out on the water and all you see is their back and maybe a puff. Well, you can't do a portrait of an animal if all you see is his nose on top of its head. That doesn't help. What else?
We'll stick around.
Yeah, we're going to stick around for a while. And,
I hear Pheena's been around the country.
yeah, on a truck. We wanted to make it 70 feet long, but every time we would take it on the road, it would take massive permits and all kinds of people and everything. So we made it 50 feet long because then it could hop on the back of a truck and go anywhere we wanted. That's why it's an adolescent fin whale. And it's a female fin whale just because that's what I like. That's what I decided. But if we named it was a fin whale, a male fin whale would have to name him Pheno. That's not very good. Pheena is nice, sweet, feminine, beautiful, like the animal.
So it could get 20 feet longer?
Yeah,
It could-
yeah. I think full-grown fin whale could be 65 feet long. And if you notice something, it's the most striking example of asymmetry and pigmentation in the whole animal kingdom. Because a fin whale, the right mandible is white, pure white. The left one is black. People,
Walk around.
they would theorize, yeah, if you walk on the other side, you see the jaw is pure white. That's the way they really are. Hard for me to believe that at first. I kept on looking at these carcasses and looking at them. Why would that jaw be white? And then a good buddy scientist of mine said, you know, fin whales been seen turning on their side. They eat everything, but they eat fish. And when I'll try and show you this. They go into water, they go up to the surface, and they open and turn sideways and open their massive mouths, size of a double closet, huge, taking in a whole school of fish. And so maybe that's the reason because you know most animals, if you look at them, have a counter pigmentation. The bottoms are light colored, and the darker colors are on the back. And the same with whales, they're light on the bottom and dark on top. The exception with the fin whale, they have one white mandible. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, they turn on their sides. Because they're chasing fish, squid, krill. That's it, fish, squid, and krill, that's what they eat. Sarah?
I've heard of humpback whales, right whales. I know nothing about a fin whale. Why do you think that is? That's maybe I'm just a minority, but I've never really heard of it. And it's not a famous whale in the whale world.
No, it's not. Too bad, because I think the most beautiful and one of the fastest. Streamlined as shoots through the water.
And where does it migrate? Is it a West Coast whale or is it?
Whales, generally speaking, don't cross the equator because that would throw them out of sync with what they want to do. They want to go south or north toward the equator to feed and maybe mate, reproduce, and then, or not feed, but mate and reproduce, and then they go back to circumpolar seas to eat whatever they're going to eat. And almost all those whales do it. There's only 2 or 3 species that hang around the equator. And fin whales are the first ones to get back down to the circumpolar seas to grab that shrimp and those squid.
Good.
And what else? Oh, Sarah?
So are they endangered or?
Yeah, all whales, everything is endangered. Yeah. And I think they're making a comeback, but it's slow and laborious and should never have happened, in my opinion. They were killing most fin whales for dog food. I don't want to say that in front of our little doggy here, but and I guess dog food is important, so fin whales got to go. But the protection now is quite a bit better. And very few people are shooting blue whales and fin whales. Fin whales are the second largest. Blue whales are the biggest. I proposed to Barbara Ondo, do we make a 100-foot blue whale and put it right over there?
Yeah.
But no guy in his right mind would make 2 whales in a lifetime.
Wait,
Is that it?
I thought there was another whale.
Huh?
There was another whale, wasn't
Sandy.
Yeah, a gray whale too. And
you-
they put a big sign up, "Thank you very much, Jerry Foster." So I was very happy about that. You know what I did? It's in Monterey. It's in Pacific Grove, right in front of the museum. It weighs, I don't know, 3 tons.
I remember a
Fair.
misprint in the pink section for an exhibit in City. Art by Larry Poster.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I sort of like that name, Larry Poster. Yeah.
We had a laugh over that.
Okay, can I turn this over
You
to?
have another question over there.
Buck.
Oh,
Another crazy question. When you do see whales breaching and coming out of the water and stuff, a lot of them have barnacles on them. Are you planning to put some barnacles on them?
rorquals don't have a lot of barnacles. Gray whales are covered with them, and humpback whales have certain barnacles, a few. Interesting point. A humpback's flipper is 15 feet long, and they have barnacles that live on their flipper and nowhere else in the animal kingdom, just on humpback whale flippers. And they're big and they're sharp. They're almost like teeth. So if a humpback whale wanted to do some damage, all he has to do is hit you with this big flipper. And with all those barnacles on there, it would cut you up like a cream cheese. Uh-oh.
You may have already answered this, but what's the whale made out of?
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass. Yeah, fiberglass. It was the best thing. Weatherproof, fairly light, because we wanted to fly it around. Very important to fly that whale.
Really tough.
Any more questions?
Any more questions, anybody? Oh, we're going to be around for a while, so we'll mingle. Thank you so much.
Thank everyone for coming. Larry's going to graciously stay around and answer more questions if you'd like.